Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Monday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick, Mitch Hotch with you this morning. It has already been a day. I feel like we had a relatively quiet couple of weeks, and the market this morning has been anything but that. We, of course, got the stimulus deal over the weekend. There is also a new strain of the virus that we're dealing with over in Europe. Market factoring both those things in this morning, and it's been volatile. So we'll talk about that. We have other non-macro news. We had the stress test results from the Fed on Friday. They are allowing buybacks again, so the banks are moving off that headline. We're, of course, going to talk about Tesla. Today is their first day in the S&P 500. That was crazy at the close on Friday. We have a couple M&A deals, some small M&A deals this morning to get to. Reminder, it's also a short week. Markets are closed on Friday and close early on Thursday. We had Nike earnings as well, so just a lot going on. Busy show. Joel, as best you can, it's been a crazy morning. Recap it for us.
Crazy morning, crazy night, even with the stimulus package and the overnight news. Big old range. If you were so inclined to short the all-time high in the S&Ps, you could have got filled last night. Friday's high, 37.23. Your high, 37.24. As you can see, we came unraveled. Got all the way down to 35.96. Slipped under 3,600. So a 128-point range overnight. Very rare occurrence here in the index. We have bounced back. Looking at just mid-range, 52.75, but that's just not a great number here because the way we came slicing, dicing through it. Crude finally giving back some of its monster rally. That's down $1.75 at 47.49. Gold in the red by 350 at 18.85.40. Silver going the opposite way, going up 23.7 cents at 26.28. And Bitcoin flirted, got over 24,000 overnight, but now in your red by $325, 22,535. Are we looking at another double top in Bitcoin at 24,000 triple D?
Not worrying about Bitcoin. That's the least of our concerns is Bitcoin here right now. We have other concerns, and Bitcoin is not one of them. And obviously, the major concerns is this mutation. Spencer, tell us, what we've seen over the weekend over in the UK, because this is the reason that we were down at one point almost 100 handles.
Yeah, so UK is basically on all-out lockdown right now. As they approach this Brexit deadline, this is not helping things here. But the country is basically on lockdown. The borders are closed. You can't get in or out. Goods can't get in or out. You can't even get to the southeast part of the country. They've basically blocked off that area. People can't really travel. You can't really move within the country. So there was this new strain. They're calling it B117. They're saying it could be up, and I say could because there's a lot we still don't know here, could be up to 70% more contagious than the original COVID-19 strand. Every doctor that I saw over the weekend said, yes, we knew this was going to happen. Viruses mutate. That's what they do. We've just discussed this on our show as well. So no real surprise. The only concern is A, it's more seems to be more transmissible, and B, we don't really know how effective our vaccines would be against it. Though the assumption would be that it would take a longer period of time for the virus to mutate away from the vaccine. But again, we don't know. That's the key thing, is we really don't know. So there is this new strain of the virus. It's contagious enough that they caused UK to basically shut themselves down more so than they ever have been at any point this year. And so that's what's overtaking the sentiment of the stimulus deal this morning, is the fear of this new strain.
Because we had a lot of good news. Friday night, we had the banks coming out, and they're allowed to do buybacks and raise their dividends, and you saw all the banks just ripping after the close. And then, we get this news over the weekend of this mutation in the strain, and you start wondering, okay, well, what's going to, is the market going to shrug it off? Are they going to be spooked about it? But they hammered the European markets, and then eventually, obviously, it spilled over into our markets too. I mean, the million-dollar question is, does the vaccine work on this mutated strain? They asked Scott Gottlieb that just a few minutes ago on CNBC, and he said he suspects that it would, but he also suspects that eventually it will mutate to a point where you're going to have to update the vaccines. I think the market will just want to know the question, though, does it work against this one? And I don't know if we have the answer to that question yet. I mean, we can speculate that, okay, it hasn't mutated enough that it will be effective against it. But if the answer is no, like if we find out that no, the vaccines do not work on this new mutated strain, that's like a big hole in the whole reopening thesis. That was what, we were concerned about. This would have been the one scenario where the reopening could be delayed significantly. So we need more information. The information that if you're looking at, coming in here and you can't help yourself, you have to buy the dip. And if you don't have stocks, I would buy the technology companies. I mean, we're seeing, they're already starting to show some relative strength here. But, earlier this morning, we had some technology companies just getting hammered along with the overall market. I mean, we know Apple seems to work in obviously a lockdown or reopening. I own Apple. We know Amazon works probably even to their benefit in a lockdown. Amazon's still down $13, but it's off the lows here. I own Amazon. Google works in those environments as well. And some of your smaller tech plays, work in this environment as well. Am I jumping into the Zooms and the Pelotons? No, because if the reopening comes back, they'll hammer those stocks right back down. So, and the valuations, obviously just turned me off of those all completely. But I mean, that's the question. We don't have enough information to just blatantly go and start buying the dips and the cruise lines and the airlines and the casinos, because if the answer to that question that the vaccine does not work on this current mutated strain, they could continue hammering some of those reopening plays.
And I also want to clarify, with or without the vaccine, the fact that the UK is basically back into its strongest lockdown that we've seen yet. That's the other thing, right? Is like there's the effectiveness of the vaccine that's long term, but short term, the fact that they're going back into really, really strong lockdowns is the other thing to weigh in here, right? Because the effectiveness of the vaccine is a long term problem. That's what matters most. But in the short term, there is no reopening happening in the UK. They're going backwards. They're going the wrong direction.
Well, we're going backwards too, to a certain extent.
Yeah, but they're going backwards.
They're going backwards faster. You talked about it in Michigan, Joel. You're starting to see the cases go down because Michigan has pretty much been back to, not as much as it was in March, but back to more social distancing, more lockdown, schools being closed. I know even in Ontario, they closed all the schools a week early for the Christmas holidays, and we don't know what it's going to look like coming out of it. But, they did that because, we've been fairly, in Canada, we've, not had as many cases as they had in the States, but it's starting to spread here rapidly as well. Even in the northern town, where I'm staying right now, we're starting to see some cases up here too. And, through the summer, we were like, oh, there's 2 cases, there's 1 case, there's 3 cases, in an area of 100,000 people. Now you're starting to see, oh, there was 26 cases, so the numbers are coming up even, as you get, away from the cities and the rural areas now. Obviously, that's a concern too. But I mean, the number one concern why the markets are getting hammered is a mutated strain that, sounds like it mutated significantly. And London's, taking every precaution they possibly can. So I just say we don't have enough information yet. And that's why I'm not coming in and just buying every dip and, we're going right back up. I can't confidently say, that, we're just going to rip right back higher. But again, I do believe if you're buying, stocks that, work in both environments, that is how I would play it. Again, I own most of those stocks already. So I'm probably not coming in adding to my Amazon position or my Apple position or my Google position or, my tech stock positions because my portfolio is a lot of tech. But if I didn't have those stocks, that's what I would be nibbling on today.